Welcome back to Sunday Live. We're already engaged in serious discussion, and let's welcome to our studio Serem, who is the chair of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. It hasn't been an easy year for you, Sarah. It's a difficult one.
Oh, it's absolutely difficult.
Let's start with the fact that the president described this as a monster on Friday and said we really need to get ahead of this before it really chokes us. So let's start from there, and we want to know, what is the long-term strategy for this? There's this whole discussion about pay cuts. But before we come to that, let me ask you a question that's been posed on Twitter. Would you yourself accept a pay cut?
Absolutely, Julie, because my interest is not just the enjoyment of today. What is our future like? What's our tomorrow like? What are we giving to our children? So if it has to take a self-sacrifice today to be assured of a future tomorrow, then I would do that. But by the way, for information, maybe most Kenyans don't know, SRC are not on salary. We are a part-time commission, so we earn a sitting allowance. But even if it means giving up that, for the sake of this country, we will do it.
You're a part-time commission, it appears, doing what is really a full-time job and a critical job at that. So you receive only sitting allowances and...
Absolutely. This is probably what we offer to the Kenyans, that we're doing a full-time job on a part-time basis, on a part-time structure. Whatever we said was for full-time commission. But for SRC, we are a part-time commission. So that's part of the sacrifice we are giving to the nation.
So no salaries paid to your commission,
we are not getting salary as SRC.
Let's move to the bigger picture now, and just judging from the feedback from viewers, people are saying, look, we cannot touch the lower paid cadres. People are struggling just to survive. Now you have cadres that are very well paid, and the demand is that those people should certainly accept pay cuts. What strategy can you employ? And a year into this new administration, why is that strategy not already in place?
It's an internal search, Julie. I think as leaders, we need to focus on what do we want to offer this country. When we came in, it was more of service to the people. 1 year down the line with the new government, would we today satisfy that Kenyan and say that I have value for this tax that I am paying? It would be an obligation to each one of us as leaders to say, for that individual, for Wanjiko to benefit, for the youth to have a hope in this country, truly there's got to be a price we have to pay. And that is the sacrifice we're asking each one of us. We're not going to state as SRC and say, we want everybody to reduce the salary. Salaries are protected. It has to take an individual initiative, like what the president did. That was an individual initiative. And we're not going to demand anybody to do that. But if you think that you owe this country a service, there are moments that you see this country and it's bigger, and you want to say, I am willing to put in a sacrifice. And I wish we could follow suit.
Tomorrow, a national dialogue on this issue begins, which probably is critical towards shaping a new way of thinking, because in many ways people have seen government as something you use and take from, rather than you give to. And that's a cultural and mind change shift that is quite significant. But as we go into this dialogue and we see MPs coming out very strongly, defiant and almost quite on the attack, worried, what would you want to say to them? We've already said you won't force anybody to take the pay cut. What words would you share to our parliamentarians and maybe county governors and other leaders who are getting, worked up about their idea of this?
I don't know whether we understand what we are talking about with Julie. The reality check now is that our economy is threatened. And what is threatening us is the fact that we are converting to being a consuming society. I think it's important for each individual to take stock of their resources. Look back and say, if I came into this position, who employed me? It is the citizen. Are they benefiting for you being in position, in leadership position? Or you've simply come in to amass wealth and probably be seen as, that leader? Because how have we defined the leadership here? It's more like, how much do I have in my pocket so that I can be able to share with the others? The elected leaders came in with a promise that we're going to improve our infrastructure. We will improve the roads. We will build better hospitals. We will improve the education systems. Have we done that? You know, can a youth today stand up and say, since I elected you, I have gained out of it? Can the taxpayer truly say, I am glad, I am happy for the pay that you are receiving because I'm receiving value for it? I think it's time that you as a leader ask yourself, what have I given to that Kenyan that elected me to this position? Indeed, we are coming up with a wage bill debate tomorrow. And we are saying we are raising this above SRC. It's no longer an SRC agenda. It's a national agenda. Because unless we take stock of that and we take real measures to contain it, we will all be thrown into this hole.
We'll go into that a little bit more and just explain in further the dangers. But first, you know, keep saying if you want to make lots of money, stay in the private sector. Don't go into government. It's not where you should be making money, and this is perhaps is part of the problem. You've been in HR for 30 years. You've got a wealth of experience behind you, and so in many ways the country relies on you to guide us through this process. Talk us through the dangers of failing to invest enough in development.
Make it simple, Julie. Assume that you are earning today, and whatever little or much money that you are earning, you consume. You go through Nakumat, you go through Chumi, you go through a motor show, and you buy everything that you ever wanted to have because you're consuming. What happens the next month? You're not able to take your children to school. When they fall sick, you cannot take them to hospital. That's the basics of understanding what it means to be a consuming society. We're saying Kenya is becoming a consuming society because if you are spending over 50% of the revenue that is generated from this country, the domestic revenue, on wage bill, ideally we are becoming a consuming society. And don't forget that that 50% is only due to under 1% of the public population. What will the 40 million plus Kenyans consume if that is what we are spending?
Let me ask this question. We therefore then need to address the fact that we have too many people on the government wage bill, as well as having too many people unemployed. From a purely professional perspective, what is the solution to that then? Again, how do we create these jobs? It comes back to what do we do and what have we failed to do that we need to do? What are the low-hanging fruits? How do we begin?
We did a survey just as we came in as SRC, comparing private to public. And you won't believe this, Julie, the results were that government or public sector is now paying more than the private sector. What does that do? It raises the cost of employment. And when you raise cost of employment, ideally you become uncompetitive as a country because most of the investments and those who would have wanted to invest in Kenya will find cost of employment very expensive. And so they opt for other countries. It's possible. I may not have an empirical evidence, but it's a fact that we are losing a lot of our investments outside. We're not saying that the Kenya has a bigger population in terms of the employment. We have not tied our wage to productivity. This is where we need to focus. Each of those individuals employed within the public sector, are they accountable? What is their productivity levels? A little bit of the survey we carried out also is like the productivity of this country is very low. So we are not bringing value. Each of those employed, the 700,000 plus, we do not have accountability for each one of those. If we raised and enhanced our productivity, perhaps therefore we will generate more revenue. So again, and we'll be able to sustain.
Also comes to productivity. Let's go to some of the questions that are coming in, specific ones, and I'm told that the figure right now on opinion poll where we've been asking, should public servants take a pay cut? Yes, 37%, but no, the majority, 63%. We know a lot of people rely on salaries from government just to survive, so that is no surprise. Somebody's saying, ask Serem, is she aware the lowest paid civil servant earns a basic salary of 8,000 while you earn close to $1 million, says this person. That's James in Kangemi. Please respond to that. What do you actually earn, Sarah?
May I tell you something, Julie, even before I get to what I earn? When we came in, one of the things that hit us on the face was the disparity within the public sector. That we had The highest probably drawing over 2 million, and the lowest at that point earning 7,000. That is huge disparity. It's not acceptable in any system. Our intention was that we remove these disparities by ensuring that the compression that is within the highest and the lowest is brought to acceptable levels.
So what have you achieved on that so far?
When we set for the state officers, we ensured that there was relativity in the salaries that we set, that the highest and the lowest had some relationship, and we introduced what we were calling the compression level. This is what we are doing, we are going to, also within the public sector. As of now, we're talking about the lowest is earning 8,000. That's a reality. Our intention as SRC was to bridge this gap and ensure that the lowest is beefed up as we maintain or contain the upper, if not even bringing it down, so that at least this Kenya has a system that is fair, because the contribution of the highest cannot be achieved unless we have the lowest person contributing.
Right.
Even as we think of people saying, let's go for a wage cut, honestly, we are aware and quite sincerely we know that there are those who cannot even think about a wage cut. That would be morally wrong. And we are saying those who are able to carry it, can they carry the burden? What
is surprising, Sarah, and to people at home, is that you will find some people on 8,000 who have something inside that will say, I will give 1,000, which they shouldn't, because they are trying to. But this is the point, that where are the selfless leaders who are earning the big money? But I come back to the question because it has been posed. So Sarah, what do you actually earn? This is a big question simply because of the seat that you occupy. It's critical.
It's true. Right? I earn 325,000.
That is a retainer.
Before tax.
Okay.
Yes. And the rest of the others are variable depending on how often I sit. But we are only allowed up to 8 sittings in a month.
How much is each sitting?
Each sitting is 50,000.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Don't forget something, Julie, that we do not sit for the 8. We sit literally every single day, because the kind of job that we do is more than the money that we are talking about. We're saying we are ready to contribute. I am allowed only 8 sittings in a month, but I sit 30 days almost in a month.
We're live on air talking to a country and just about to start a dialogue on pay cuts. What commitment would you want to make to kind of kickstart this, even as you tell us what you earn? A lot of people, I've just heard 50,000 per sitting and are in utter shock. And I know I don't want to put you under pressure, but is there some way that the commission itself can use this as an opportunity to change mindsets?
Indeed, this is what we will do going forward, Julie. We have said whatever it takes, whatever it costs, we are going to be part of those that will be championing the sacrifice that we will make. I want to repeat again, we sit as SRC on a daily basis, but we do not ask for any pay for those days that we sit. We have agreed and said, even though we are on part-time or on a full-time job, doing a part-time or on a part-time structure, we're still willing to put in all that sacrifice. Sitting down, we sit early in the morning, we sit late in the night, almost on a daily basis, to achieve what we have achieved so far.
Okay, we'll be joined by Dolores Jordan in studio. One question before we go to that. Really, we've discussed this issue of your pay and your salaries. We're looking at a big dialogue tomorrow. There's obviously the big issue that your retainer and allowances. You mentioned earlier that salaries, though, are protected by the law. So this dialogue that is starting tomorrow, what is the intention if the law is already in place protecting salaries, and what's the strategy from there?
Thank you, Julie. What we have done as SRC is we have shouted the alarm over the past 1 year. We're now taking this to a notch higher and saying, let's participate, let's have the stakeholders come on board. Let's bring the Kenyans on board. Let's together think and reason through the whole process of this wage bill thing. And at the end of it all, we would want to have a conference, a wage bill conference sometimes in April, which will result in us developing a wage bill policy. You note that we do not have a wage bill policy
in place
in Kenya in place. So once this comes in, then that will give us the framework of the systems we need to have. What kind of figures are we talking about? how should we relate the wage bill to the GDP and to the economy of this country.
Don't leave us, Sarah. Stay
Yes.
with us. We'd like to welcome into studio now Dolores Jordan, who is the mother of Michael Jordan, but also welcome Dolores
Thank you.
into studio.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure
Also
meeting
now embraced by Kenya as a Kenyan. I think you've embraced that yourself. You're here every year for International Women's Day,
Yes.
and you have a passion for this country. Dolores, let's start there. What's your attachment to Kenya? What's your passion for this country? And what have you been doing in this country to ensure change happens?
You know, I have been here now for, 20 years. Can you believe in 1993, I came with 6 kids from the U.S. to inspire them to want to do better. And I came and got inspired. So over the last 10 years, again, as you know, I've gotten engaged in the community. I network again with the government offices and really in the community to see how we can continue to grow this country. You know, I've got such attachment for Kenya because you have so much to offer the country. I think so many times when I meet Kenyans outside in the U.S., they're thinking, oh, we have everything here. You have everything here. My time I've invested here over the last 10 years really working and getting engaged is really just trying to see what you have here. See the opportunities you have for your own citizens and for your own country.
What is it you identify as the greatest potential areas? What is it that attaches you to the country the most, do you
It's
think?
really coming together to have women to have a voice.
Okay.
I don't think any country, any place can be successful without having women involved. And my drive here has been helping to empower women, also helping the woman to know that you have much to give.
Right.
Not just to have a mother and be a wife, a sister, but to get engaged and know that you can contribute to your family. Because I always believe that anytime you can nurture the woman's going to nurture her family. The whole family growth is one. That has been my vision and my hard work here, trying to empower, come together as one. And the government to see, again, there's opportunity to have women at the table.
You talk about it, change through inspiration.
Inspiring for change.
What does that mean?
Oh, inspiring for change. People around us can inspire us. And really, and I do not want to be in another atmosphere if I'm not around someone who can inspire. This is our 4th year, as you will know, for International Women's Day. And as I was speaking on Thursday, I really wanted Kenyans to know why I keep coming, because you keep inspiring me. And I listed people who has supported me and guided me and inspired me to keep coming back. And I want to share that because I just didn't walk
Please
in
do.
and say I'm going to really make a change. I wanted to come in and ask the Kenyans, can I work with you to help bring change? And I guess that started, in 2004, when I was invited by Vice President Awori to be a part of, 40 years independence of Britain. And I was a part of the Steakhouse celebration. What an awesome opportunity to see the cultures and the whole Kenyans coming together. But also I had an opportunity really to do a tour. And during that tour, I had an opportunity, to visit what you call was a Nairobi Women Hospital at that time. And after doing the tour, I was overwhelmed because what you call a medical facility to address some of the women issues, it wasn't what I thought it should have been. So I got engaged with Dr. Sam Thinya to see how I can really provide equipment. And then finding out what is long-term sustainability.
Right.
I saw at that time it was not long-term sustainability. Also, at the same time, I know with me having an organization in the U.S., 501c3, I had to engage with someone who's willing to give back. So I must say again, as I got engaged, there are many people. Mr. Kabagi, who owns Pacific Insurance Group, he says, you know what, Mrs. Jordan, if you really want to come, let my group help you. Let me give you an office for 1 solid year
Wow.
to establish the James R. Jordan Foundation International. And he did. There was another girl who was working another job, but she came over to work with me part-time to help me again provide the filing for a city councilor.
So this is all people just coming in and
These are all
saying,
people who engaged to help me to really to come to Kenya and say, how can you help inspire us? But you inspired me. Martha, at that time, was Minister of Justice. Sit down, we chatted, she shared with me, let me tell you where I think you can help. Charity, who was Minister of Health at that time. And ever since then, when I look at Beth Mugo, the community have engaged me. Vice President Awori, has not been a time we haven't been here. He's saying, how can I help
that he
you?
hasn't welcomed him.
So inspired. You have inspired me.
Thank you so much. And Sarah, you know, I want to bring you in here because this
Yes,
dialogue
yes.
is all about change.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And in a way, people will not take pay cuts unless they are touched and inspired
Yes.
and feel a deeper commitment. That is what you talked about when you said, what do
Absolutely.
leaders, you know, what
Absolutely.
do they ask themselves? So
Absolutely.
what perhaps do you take from the lesson for Dolores that she was welcomed and she's seen people sacrificing? What you know, do you read anything into that?
This truly is touching because somebody out there has seen the potential within ourselves. I can guarantee you that if leaders took the spirit that our visitor has and sacrificed to serve this nation, we have enough, Julie. We will not have women dying out of hunger because we have enough resources that we can exploit instead of consuming.
And we're looking to you, Sarah. We're looking to you over the next few days. We're going to an amazing story, ladies.
Yes.
Today, Sunday, the 9th of March, of course, is going to go down in the history books as a day infant mortality was dealt a lethal blow. Now, with the noble aim of aiming to move infant mortality beyond zero, Her Excellency the First Lady Margaret Kenyatta, together with Her Excellency Mrs. Rachel Ruto, led over 10,000 Kenyans. 10,000. We knew it was thousands, but it was 10,000 in a race aptly dubbed the First Lady Half Marathon, which so far has raised 170 million Kenyan shillings through corporate sponsorship alone. Now, that's not even taking into account the money that people paid and registered to actually walk, so it's certainly more than 170 million. Cabinet secretaries, members of the National Assembly, distinguished diplomats, all swapped their distinguished garb for a running kit as Citizen TV beamed the whole event live to millions of Kenyans. Let's take a look.
To understand how important the inaugural First Lady Marathon is, one simply needs to scroll through current national maternal and child mortality statistics. A UNICEF Kenya study indicates that approximately 43,600 infant deaths occur annually, while an average of 4,500 women die during the same period due to pregnancy-related complications. For this reason, Kenyans started trooping to the marathon from as early as 6 a.m., ready to run the 21-kilometer race, the 10-kilometer race, or even the so-called Race of Champions, the 2-kilometer race. At 8 a.m. sharp, the First Lady was at the start line ready to lead the 21-kilometer group. And her competitors were not the average athlete, but rather cabinet secretaries, members of the National Assembly, and a security team.
And they're off. Ladies and gentlemen, the 21-kilometer event has been flagged off.
Her Excellency took off from the start line down Langata Road onto Mombasa Road until Imara Daima, which was the halfway point. From there, she turned back, covering the same distance until the finish line in a total time of 3 hours and 46 minutes. In a show of support, His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta turned up at the finish line to welcome his wife and show her that he fully supported the Beyond Zero campaign.
Today, we ran to keep mothers and newborns alive. We ran because every mother should be able to hold her baby and take her baby home. And that baby should live to be strong and have many more birthdays.
As if underscoring that this time was not his event, the president did not officially address those present, but Citizen TV sports editor Michael Kinyi was brave enough to grab a flash interview.
the fact that she wants to actually create awareness, yeah, on this particular program of ensuring that we actually eliminate child-to-mother transmission of HIV. And she said she was willing to do anything. I didn't believe she would actually go to this extent. I am completely proud of her, and I really think that this is a fantastic effort on her part.
The funds raised from the half marathon will be used to roll out 47 mobile clinics for the counties.
Today, we took part in the race to make it possible to have a healthy generation that is HIV-free. We ran for the elimination of HIV transmission from mother to child.
Since President Uhuru Kenyatta declared that women now will deliver for free, women now have started going to our health facilities, and therefore more are going there, and therefore maternal mortality is reducing and the infant mortality.
Some of the corporate sponsors of the Beyond Zero campaign include Equity Bank, who donated 50 million Kenya shillings, as the Royal Media Services topped up the kitty with 20 million Kenya shillings. KCB Bank, Commercial Bank of Africa, Cooperative Bank and General Motors are tied on a contribution of 10 million Kenya shillings each. These little girls may not realize how significant the First Lady Marathon is today. But one day, when they are of childbearing age, then the dangers of infant mortality will be for them a very present reality. For the First Lady, however, she now turns her attention to preparing for the London Marathon, where she plans to run the 42-kilometer race on the 13th of April 2014. Reporting for Sunday Live, I'm Waihiga Mwaura.
Absolutely inspirational, and just access to a clinic, to doctors and nurses saves so many lives. And Royal Media is very proud to be part of that. What are your thoughts as you see that? And let me bring this to you, Sarah, and then you, Dolores. This country is changing. Do you start to see and feel a shift?
This is a paradigm shift, Julie. We're taking ownership. The leaders are recognizing the fact that they are there not for themselves, but for the people of Kenya. If each one of us had committed to even change one life at a time, we're going to have an amazing country. We indeed do. We have enough resources. We can be able to reach out to the young people. We can reach out to the mothers. It should be our responsibility to ensure that the Kenyan standard of living is raised to the level that is acceptable.
And I agree with the First Lady, again, taking the opportunity to launch, again, the first half marathon. Wow, what a change. And what a voice. That is what Kenyans need. We need to hear her voice. We need her to take the role, be the leader and to move forward. I do see the change. Also, why we're really inspiring for change and pushing for change and recognizing, again, women need the need in reference to the healthcare initiative. We also need to make an effort that we talk about preventive.
Right.
It's not just treatment, but how do we talk about preventive? So those are some of the things, too, I hope we'll really work to help bring change.
I noted you said we need to hear her voice. So you are, I hope you're getting your Kenyan passport. To wind up with you this evening, ladies, I'd like you've got a vision and a dream, and you've done so much, as you explained, with Dr. Sam Thenya and Nairobi Women's Hospital. What is your hope and vision for the future? And Sarah, then you tell us, in terms of this huge challenge, this monster that is our wage bill and our recurrent expenditure, what's your vision and your hope for the future? I'll start with you, Dolores.
Well, you well know, again, working beside Dr. Thenya, I got an opportunity to see. I think his vision was a little different than mine, and now that we've moved off to establish the Kenya Women Children Wellness Center, which we will still collaborate and work with him. But I think my vision for coming and really to work hard to inspire the locals, not just women but men, is can we have a facility to talk about training? Can we have a facility to talk about preventive? Don't wait until I have cancer. Don't wait until, again, that I've already have TB. Can we put in place a change where we can recognize, again, talk about preventive and training?
Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Julie, our tagline for this debate is mshahara wako ni mzigo wangu.
Mzigo wangu.
Absolutely. At this point, it's a burden to the Kenyan that we have to overtax them so that we can pay the few that are serving us. I am reaching and I'm looking for a day when mshahara wako will be my blessing. And that indeed means that I will get value for the tax that I am paying, that I will be proud to even give more because I am seeing the fruits of it. If I will have good roads, if when I walk into the hospital I have good facilities, if my children will be getting good education, and literally raising up my standard of living as Wanjiko, that is when I will appreciate the public service.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. It's been a pleasure having you in studio on this particular week when we celebrated International Women's Day. Wish you all the best, Dolores, and we're with you all week, and we wish you all the best in your endeavors. We're taking a break now, and we come right back with a news roundup, Who Owns Kenya, and then sports is on the way. Stay with Sunday Live.